Elf is a great Christmas comedy movie released in 2003. It really does well at getting you into the Christmas spirit. It's quite a feel-good movie. It's both funny, relatable, and touching. It's not as old as some other classic Christmas movies, but has definitely become a modern classic. Although it isn't really that modern anymore since it was released in 2003, but still it holds up really well to this day. Will Ferrell as Buddy the Elf is absolutely iconic, and he honestly played the role perfectly. He's a great actor. I'll briefly go over the plot and what I thought about some parts of the movie. So, Elf follows Buddy, who is a human raised by elves in the North Pole, who doesn't realize until later that he's actually a human. It's crazy that it took him so long to figure out, considering how much bigger he was than everyone else there. The North Pole parts of the movie were really funny. But anyways, Buddy found out from Papa Elf that he was born to Walter Hobbs and Susan Wells. Susan gave him up for adoption shortly before dying, and Walter never knew about the baby. Buddy is told that his father is on the naughty list because of his selfishness. Buddy travels to New York in an attempt to meet up with him and increase his Christmas spirit. He makes it to New York and meets his dad. The people there think he's a Christmas grand messenger, but when he starts talking to Walter and saying that Walter was his dad, they kick him out, although Walter didn't believe him. It clearly stuck in his brain since he later researched and thought about it more. The office scene was so funny, with Buddy being confused and making up a song on the spot. Then the security guards sarcastically tell Buddy to go to the Gimbel's department store, and, of course, Buddy takes him seriously and goes there and ends up falling in love with Jovi, who doesn't seem to be very excited to work there. Buddy then learns that Santa Claus will be coming to the store the next day. Obviously not the real one, but he doesn't realize that. He decorated the entire store and made it look beautiful with lots of Christmas spirit. It's honestly impressive how good he made it look with the big Lego city and the light bright signs. It just looks great. Buddy's just really great at bringing out the Christmas spirit in people. The next day, Santa shows up and Buddy's suspicious and asks him questions and accuses him of being fake, before finally ripping his beard off to expose him as not actually Santa Claus. Wow, who would have thought? This starts a brawl in the store. Santa freaks out and attacks Buddy, smashing all the Legos, making a big mess before the manager finally comes running, then tackles Santa to the ground to make it stop. This is a crazy and hilarious scene. I love how all the kids freaked out and they screamed as the chaos unfolded, and it's so sad that the Legos got destroyed. Like, that Lego city looks so good and probably took a long time to make. Because of the brawl, Buddy gets arrested, but he uses his one phone call to call his dad, who reluctantly bails him out to get a DNA test. So, turns out Buddy is actually his biological son, and Walter is convinced by the doctor to take Buddy home and introduce him to his family. Michael, the son, initially finds Buddy really strange and somewhat annoying, but after getting caught in a snowball crossfire, Buddy makes a ton of snowballs and fires them super fast at everyone who threw snowballs at them. This was a great scene and pretty funny. It was awesome to see them bond more and seeing Buddy's insane snowball skills. Michael convinces Buddy to ask Jovi out on a date, and later they do, and they end up falling in love. So Walter's publishing company is currently under fire because their last book flopped really bad, but they do manage to get a meeting with Miles Finch, a best-selling children's author, kind of like Dr. Seuss. The meeting gets interrupted by Buddy, who mistakes Miles for an elf because he's very short. Miles gets super mad and attacks him super violently and storms out. This was another great scene. Buddy is so innocent, and he didn't realize that he was actually insulting Miles, and since he takes everything seriously and literally, he keeps calling Miles an elf because he says, "Oh, call me an elf one more time." And then he keeps getting beat up more and more. The violence was super comical and over the top, which fits for a kid's movie and was quite funny. Interestingly enough, though, they cut out some more violent parts of the scene, like when Miles bashes Buddy's head against a wall over and over. Ouch! Like, I see why they cut that. You know, the behind the scenes of this movie is very interesting. If we have the DVD and we watch some of it, it's very cool, but that's the point. Walter is understandably mad at losing the opportunity to work with Miles and disowns Buddy, which obviously he should have done, but still. And Buddy leaves an apology note on an Etch-a-Sketch and leaves. Walter and his team scramble to come up with a book idea using Miles' left-behind notebook, but when Michael walks in and says what happened to Buddy, Walter realizes his mistake and leaves to go find Buddy, even though this meant he would get fired. This is some great character development here, one of the movie's strongest aspects. Buddy finds the real Santa in Central Park, whose sleigh crashed because of the lack of Christmas spirit in the world. Walter and Michael reunite with Buddy, and Walter apologizes and accepts Buddy as his son. Michael grabs Santa's naughty and nice list and brings it to the crowd of people and reads it to the news reporter to prove that Santa is actually real, in an attempt to increase Christmas spirit. This isn't quite enough, though. Santa struggles to evade the Central Park Rangers, who are mad at being on the naughty list, and they try to catch Santa. Jovi overcomes her fear of singing in public and starts singing Santa Claus is Coming to Town. Michael and Emily, they join in, and eventually everyone starts singing, even Walter. This is broadcast on the news as well, and lots of people join in singing all around, everyone watching the news, and this is enough to fully power Santa's sleigh without even the engine, and he flies through the air above all the people and into the sky. This was such a great and heartwarming scene. Everyone joining together. It was a bit awkward when it was only Jovi singing, but it was really sweet when everyone joined in. It was also sad when Buddy waved goodbye to Jovi when he was in Santa's sleigh. They just fell in love and they were in a really good place in their relationship, but now he's gone forever. Well, no, obviously not. He made it back, which is good, of course. Then at the end, we see by next Christmas, Buddy actually wrote a book about his life and what happened in his journey that we saw throughout this movie. And then that book became a bestseller and Walter started his own publishing company. I love how the movie's just meta like this. It's basically canon within itself. I love how the movie is meta like this. It's basically canon within itself, since I'm pretty sure this movie was originally based on a book, and this makes everything come full circle, which is very cool. The characters in this movie are really great, and there's quite a lot of character development in almost all of the main characters as well. Buddy learns to not dwell on the negatives like how he was at the North Pole, instead accepting his uniqueness and knowing that it's okay to be different. In a way, he doesn't really change as a person, but he changes in the way he sees himself and others. Walter definitely becomes a better person throughout the movie, starting as a nearly heartless businessman who doesn't seem to care for his family much at all, to actually appreciating his family more than work and learning to accept and care for Buddy even though he was different. Jovi started out as a tired retail worker with not much holiday spirit, but Buddy makes her happier and gives her a lot more Christmas spirit. Michael also is a lot happier with Buddy around, having someone to play with and talk to. Anyways, this movie does a very good job with character development throughout the movie and makes the story very effective. The characters grow not just by themselves, but they help each other grow. Something I noticed while watching this movie, the North Pole feels very inspired by the classic Rankin and Bass Christmas movies, especially Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. The toy-making room especially feels very similar in design to the one in Rudolph, with a large table in the middle and the elves on the side. Even more inspired by Rudolph is the section of the North Pole outside Santa's workshop. All the snows and the trees outside, they seem to play a direct homage to the outside settings of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. They have a very similar look to them, just like the animated original movie, like the stop motion. Plus, there's a snowman here that talks to Buddy the Elf named Leon the Snowman, which is a stop motion snowman very similar to Sam the Snowman from Rudolph. And the part where Buddy leaves the North Pole mirrors Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer floating away on a chunk of ice just like Rudolph did, with animated animals saying goodbye. It's really cool to see references to such classic stop-motion Christmas movies, and I never really noticed it until this rewatch for some reason. And they did even mention it in some behind-the-scenes interviews, that they were definitely inspired by Rankin and Bass and how they made all the sets in the North Pole white on purpose, which allowed the colorful characters to pop out, just like they did with Rankin and Bass, which is very cool and is a very good decision and definitely worked. Another thing I want to mention, the separation and tonal difference between the North Pole and New York City. The North Pole is obviously very white and has a lot less colors, besides just the characters, because it's focused on the characters there, while New York is obviously big with lots of things always happening, and this is a good way to show how Buddy's life changes from his simple life in the North Pole to drastic change and chaos in New York City. Some themes I found in this movie are identity, Christmas spirit, family, and kindness. Buddy is able to figure out his identity by figuring out he's a human and later figuring out that it's okay to be different from others and learning to accept himself how he is. Buddy also spreads Christmas spirit to so many people, using his kindness to try and make people as happy as possible, even though they might initially find it weird or annoying. Also, family is a huge theme, with Buddy finding his family and then learning to accept him and bond with him. This movie just fits Christmas super well. The themes basically directly align with what Christmas is all about, and that's part of why it's so great. So, would I recommend it? Yeah, I would definitely recommend this for sure. This is definitely one of my favorite Christmas movies now, and I'd say one of the best Christmas movies for sure. So, yeah, this is a must-watch Christmas movie, pretty much. In a way, this is kind of similar to the last movie I reviewed, which was Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. That one was for Thanksgiving, and they're both very funny, but also very heartwarming, and they fit the theme of their respective holiday very well. And, yeah, it's one of the best Christmas movies for sure, and if everyone should watch it, and if you haven't yet, then what are you doing? It's a really great movie. Anyways, I gave this a score of 8.5 out of 10. Yeah, thanks for watching. Let me know your opinion of the movie in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.